Welcome to our lovely future humans, to our 5D collective, to those who enjoy being their true self. So you have a relationship with your emotional and your mental body and your physical body. And if you use different words, we all do, but I am attachment trauma educated, so please do be advised. 5D collective, we are grounded in reality as any of those who would be considered oneness consciousness, Christ consciousness, or aka integrated brains. And so you don't actually choose to get capricious with logic and data. You're only logical because you're not capricious with data. So you use discernment, you enjoy learning, and spiritual and science, they come together because that's what it means to be a wise adult. You're grounded in reality and to be logical. But we have plenty of people who don't have the wisdom of the heart. That's because they did not do the shadow work or the healing yet, and they don't have the awareness that it's important to do it with people that know what they're doing, like EMDR, child parts work, and somatics. So the therapist, and then once they're done, they continue personal growth, and now they're authentically living true spirituality because they have space. Because once you are integrated, as Dr. Daniel Siegel made me aware, the ownership of the sense of self means that you feel that you are not changed, you continue to expand. He uses different words, but because your personality patterns, your temperament, they're flexible, adaptive, coherent, and stable, because you're securely attached, you have a playground in your mind and in your heart. So we're vulnerable from the place of the 0-1, attached, panicky, and 3-7, shame, submissive. But they're not shame, submissive for some of us. The 3-7 and the attached, panicky, I can handle her. So your child parts are all yours, and you have a good relationship with being yourself, which is why the emotional resilience work is fun. Furthermore, the emotional resilience work is the opportunity for growth. So an empowered feminine knows that, which is why we're not tested by masculines. And the empowered masculine is an empowered feminine, so they don't test feminine either. And so we do know those who do not do their shadow work, that's a whole different story, because we meet their adaptive child part version, and they come in and out, and they decide when something is great, when something, it's like an on-off switch, because they're full of gratification and dopamine hits. So they're not considerate of a relational joy. They don't pay back the biosphere. They don't take care of the mui sphere. But that's okay, because we self-regulate. So we're not holding, like on a, hey, look, all these things. We're not, what is it called? Like, so, when someone wants payback. Yeah, so we're not holding on to any of that. We're going to be able to forgive because we emotionally are regulating. We can cry it out, get angry out, and all those are the version of equanimous, discerning, loving, like God is, timbers of the truth of the grown human being who's also spiritual and mystic. The ones who don't want it, they have their stories because they want to keep pretending to do work. Emotionally immature people don't want to do the work. Otherwise, they'd go to Pachatan to get their actual, childhood stuff healed, versus think the Boca Raton trip is going to make that all go away. And so I'd like to let you know, as a wise adult, you'll notice when you have emotional whimsy or effective realism. I was broken free of the effective realism at the age of 8. As for emotional whimsy, I'm not really 100% sure of the whimsy word, but I definitely know that when I get emotional, I say, okay, calm down, Maria, because you're going to want to calm down first. And so you take a breather and you get your prefrontal, and by practicing the good emotional and mental resilience work, the inner growth mindset, there you go. You're going to continue to be you the smart way, stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. So I do that one-to-one, group mentorship. We have paid content, inner growth mindset exercises. We're going to have some journal prompts, and more than just that, with Patreon and a new place that I'm believing I can create digital products on. So stay tuned, and in the meantime, subscribe here on YouTube and TikTok. We have lives, and when I'll have tiers and all that, I'm going to organize some more of that. I haven't done a live in a while for YouTube, so we'll be back with that one soon as I can. Okay, so when you do meet the pseudo-intellectuals, remember, I'm pseudoscience because I know who scientists are, but the pseudo-intellectuals make me laugh in my butthole. So do every single bit of 3D, 4D, because I find that when they want to use the word logical or smart, they're just playing to their own self and a crowd. Because when you get upset at information, you're not logical or smart. When someone thinks they're smart by telling you that your brain falls out of your asshole, that's a pseudo-intellectual to a person that is an intellectual, because my brain doesn't fall out of my asshole. I know how to go with the flow. And the people who have trouble with 1, 2, 3, 4 with the consilience approach are the ones who are not actually logical. They're only going to be using what makes sense to their left brain and creating what is called the breadcrumb of trails. That's the timber of distortion. And then there's dogma and a lot of other stuff that comes around. And so as a person will tell you, online marketer, entrepreneur, plenty of people play the crowd. I don't do let me play with the sentences, even though I like to try and make them a very direct. I'm not always good with that one, but point is, I look to make sure that what I create arrives in front of the people that are interested in it, not playing to trending topics in ways that also don't contribute to the whole. But there are B game players, as always, and those are all the adolescents who stay small. They stay small, and they have only one group, and their group is right, and then that's the ostriches with the head in the sand who think they know everything, and you just think, okay, lack of groundedness in reality. So, wise adults, we know emotional resilience work is our opportunity to grow and bring forth love and to leave behind a legacy for the children to look up to. So when we have fights, we do splinters and ruptures and repairs. And so when you can be vulnerable, that's why that deep relationship with yourself equals a deep relationship with another. And then that's why you also don't hold anything in a frequency of sweet revenge. So what is beautiful about the children of God is they've all been made perfect. Their bodies are returning home to their true self. Unfortunately, when they think that they don't need a therapist for shadow work or healing, then they don't get healed. So this is the part of where you can't actually make somebody become aware of their dysregulation. And you also can't make someone get out of modulated embodiment, because you'll see them saying, we have to stay in it, because that's exactly where they think, I need to correct you. And that's the self-righteous, contemptuous charge of a baton and of more, where it's, no, we're 8 billion people on the planet. There's a bunch of different cultures, a bunch of different everything. People want to use fancy words. They tend to be the ones that I stay away from due to the fact that they're only bringing in fancy words because they are in a position to do so. If they cared about all humans and about every single bit of us getting along, they would decide to use that which is called every single bit of anything and not need labels. Okay, so to me, it'll show me, if you can expand beyond your labels, that you are an actual human being who understands that we have a subjective reality. And that means you want to respect the differences amongst you, your brothers and sisters, meaning all of human beings, culturally and everything. If, on the other hand, you want to tell me about how you're right, so you're going to weigh it down, then you're not really good with being yourself or with anything that is going on, so you're not doing emotional resilience work. Emotional intelligence, emotional maturity equals you using this, which is why it's a skill set that good businesses will want all their employees to have. It's also why they will want all their managers, everybody in top, to be actually a functional child adult, versus what I hear about, thanks Dan Martell, as he points out, bad bosses, what they look like. As he points out, what mediocre people look like, and they're not dangerous to any smart, brilliant human being who's of heart, because we'll know, okay, you set me up to succeed, and that's great. You don't, you're not great at what you do. That's it. There's no middle ground, because it's, if you're in positions, then you would actively leader. You want to use the word leader, but you don't know how to use the prefrontal. Smart people know how to use two sides of the brain. And that's why the smart companies, business owners, all of it will notice sooner than later. And here's the funny part, though. When they treat you like an object, that's not going to successfully bring people to good resilience. It's going to be the bad resilience that Dr. Amy Pegan pointed out. So you want to have a good relationship with your 0, 1, and your 2 and 3, and your 4 and 5, your 8, all of that. Can you be vulnerable with all people with those child parts? So I know how to. That's why smart people who are enlightened know all of this. Okay, and you might not use those words, but enlightenment. Use it. Enlightenment, guru, prophet, intuitive. Yes, they're all of different times, but they all mean the same when it comes to intuitiveness and that which is connected to what all that is. The only ones who don't like that we want to use it all together are the same ones who I don't consider, because they're using half of that brain then they're wanting to correct every single other person and appropriate themselves of how we should talk or how we should think. That's called a 3-year-old right here who's saying, I don't want to do it your way. But I won't get rude about it like a 16-year-old version of me, because that would be me being ignorant of the fact that I have a 3-year-old who says, I want to do it my way. You want to do it your way. Great. Now we can all agree that we're disagreeing right now. And to continue to maintain that tone is what a wise adult who's in the Enlightenment Soul Age group. And so again, somatic empaths, I'm trying to help you understand where we're at, because I see a bunch of those who are not capable in any of those interactions stay grounded in reality and care of the timber of truth. And so when someone points out to me my bias, my charge, I'm getting whatever, I'll listen, because I like to enjoy myself. And so I'm not trying to prove Maria. That's why the good relationship is with me, authentically being Maria. Spirituality, life of meaning, connection beyond the solo self, thanks Dr. Daniel Siegel. So the human elements, to explain to you what spiritual and spirituality life are, and you being in that whole divinity, creator, the words that the ones who want to use it to make it sound like you're amazing because you're a person who is unique and nobody is like you. And the minute you can accept that you have child parts that were either hurt or not, and that you can then want to bring them and share them, that's why, to me, it's not difficult. And I'm very sad for those who are not gifted the opportunity. Now, what makes me happy is Dr. Daniel Siegel and all the smart scientists, because they have given and they will gift every single human being the possibility to get the kingdom of God, the heaven in their body, available. And then what I also know, though, is even if they don't bring in their A game. So for me, I have my A game on. I'm going to consistently expand all of the collective who comes here, and we'll do emotional resilience work together as a community. We will continue to be the wise adults that will leave children and teenagers and all people with everything. We accept all, reject none. We don't cherry pick. We don't get capricious. We don't get defensive. We don't become morons. And in fact, we don't get sticks up our asses, because that's the left brain. Oh my gosh, are they boring? They can't keep it together. Like, you just go watch them. And you know what the worst part is? They're not even in academia anymore. I mean, because from the academics, I knew, since I went to academia, what they're doing. But out in the open, it's like, okay, you don't all get together and mingle and tingle and get smart. You want to keep it, oh, I know the perfect model. I know you really do, you now. Did you not learn there's no shortcuts? There's no perfect model, like, for everyone. Everybody is different. And also, you're not the subject matter expert on everything. So we each have a journey. I get to be the one who walks with those who are good to be their self. So IHP, being yourself, sharing the keys to inner growth, following your heart, and you going with the flow. And that's where the bright sides of neuroplasticity, you're using them because your child, all your subconscious and conscious is not hidden. So you don't use unhealthy self-soothing mechanisms. You don't still dysregulate, okay? So those who, instead of learning ventral vagal state, want to stay in this, it's very unfortunate business, again. But all the great somatic therapists I learned from, they said we're all headed home to our real self. So don't worry, children, because we're all like, how do we help? How do we help? On the same token, I'm in the agreement with Gabor Mate, or Mate, however the last name is, about the gut of those people who don't get recalibrated with a good therapist. They won't be doing much, because, as Dr. Daniel Siegel points out, you need to integrate. There's 9 domains of integration. The part that people will tend to not have done is take a look in their own household and their own everything. And that's because that's the one place that you'll find those adolescents. They're not self-sabotaging. That's not what's happening. They're not going to be meeting themselves, because that's how terrifying those first years of life. So implicit memory has no words. That's exactly why they'd rather do shadow work on a screen, continue to come together as teenagers, because their self-righteous, contemptuous batons is what they're leaving as a legacy. And they're not going to heal it with someone like Patrick Chan. They're projecting their charge, and then they're continuing to think like masculines do. It's half brain, not the man thing. Man and women, they're all the same days. So empowered masculine is an integrated brain. That's how I bring it to you. Empowered feminine is a person who knows how to self-regulate. And when you do, you have a good relationship with being you. And that's why you do emotional resilience work. And it's fun. And so when you're presented with those who are half-assing life, if you're empowered, you don't shame, blame, fault, revenge. You will be not tested by a masculine twin flame thing. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard about it. Yes, there's not tragedy that takes place when you have an empowered feminine. It means a person who unconsciously loves with flaws and imperfections. There will be nothing of the sort. There will be, I will respectfully and maybe even chaotically with my emotions present things, but I will not stoop to those low levels of that which those who have distortion do. So distortion, envy, jealousy, spite, all that, vendetta, whatever it is, it doesn't matter where it comes from or why it comes from. It's simply put, a 0-8-year-old, that was their strongest weapon at the time of their 0-8-year-old. Then it becomes maladaptive as their grown human being. That's why it becomes more and more not fabulous to watch human beings become adults who are not wise. When they're cherry picking, capricious, whatever it is, and they're bullshitting their way through life, I just find it humorous, and I have to hear the composition of their words, because that's how it feels when you're smart. Like, what? Lack of imagination for evil. Did you say that? I think you lacked education for it. Because the evil thing, there's a Michael Stone Forensic Criminologist scale. They're all needing help, including the charming ones who actually, the only reason they're charming is because people bow down to them. That's because those people are following them like the Lost Boys follow Peter Pan. So brilliant brains, which means emotionally aware human beings who are also logically and mentally, therefore, capacitating themselves to learn a bunch of different subject matters because we love learning. We're humored by the distorted human beings out there. Like the other one, wedding bells. No, after they fuck you, you're trash women. Some of the ignorant men, we already know. Are they men? No, they're not. They're ignorant. They're ignorant, and they have other human being, men and women, who are ignorant alongside with them. But we don't need to be holding a charge, because that's the whole point. So you don't need a charge when you have the timber of truth. You have the capacity to know that there isn't a competition with any of our books and our stories, and that only those who want to be competitive and argumentative with each other, which are the alert brains. And so there's only half a brain working. Ego likes to create a bunch of castles. Ego itself likes to not create a bunch of castles. It says, oh, look, I have a bunch of information. It's all here on the floor. Oh, look, I can read it, like I can decipher it, because I'm not confused. I'm not upset. I'm not overwhelmed. None of it. There's no charge. Okay, so emotional whimsiness or effective realism. Effective realism. I want to be aware about what is right. No, it feels right. You're all feels. So emotional resilience work. It's fun. And when you are not completely aware of all those jaw parts, but you do know that emotions can be what takes over in those moments of life where you're interacting with people that you love, because it's easy to say I love all people, like Sadhguru will sometimes say, and I love all people. I love my brothers and sisters, but that doesn't mean I'm friends with all people. But when you're with those you love, and you have splinters and ruptures, this is the part of where you will want to repair if you're a wise adult, because you know, as a functional child adult knows, we all make mistakes, we're all imperfect, and we all don't come from the same homes. And so while those who want to be upset at the ones who don't want to heal, I'm not upset, angry, I don't correct 3D40. God takes care of all of it, and he made sure to make me not play the know-it-all for the rest of my life. And he kept me far, far, far away from that, which is people who I thank him, because once you get all attachment trauma educated and you understand why anybody who did not get love from the very moment of their life will test kindness and love to the bejesus of it, will continue to think neutrality is fake and that you're hiding some shit behind your back. They will continue to follow bullshit people around, some of them, not all of them. But my point is that they are not aware of their distortion or their black and white thinking or any of it, unless they go and take good care of themselves. And then if they ever meet themselves, we will get to meet them too, which is why it's always an honor. Kylie, she's a narcissist. She's healing. She has borderline and she's healing. It's an honor to see her heal. It's not an honor to hear a man play with his words, lack of imagination for evil, but I know who he's playing for, the crowd that's going to go follow that, and then they're going to go and crap on Kylie's page because she's healing, narcissist, who's with a boyfriend who's a sociopath, and I don't think that's cool. But I also don't think that I'm going to go pick at people who are ignorant and make them feel like they are needing to be shamed. So when people are yelling at each other, I don't know all of the political correct words, nor will I ever learn them all, because I'm not always online. I'm doing other stuff, so we're all ignorant of topics, which is why when people come in with defensive tones, those are teenage versions of people. They don't know how to emotionally regulate. They want to correct, which makes them actually codependent. Martyrs, blamers, superiors. So wise adults don't correct that way. They come with a timber that is of discernment and equanimity and love. And if there's not that, thank you God, as he is that timber, if it's not that, and someone points it out, excuse me, you're getting confused or whatever, you listen. So we all have biases and charges is my point, but those of us who are grounded in reality and knowing the timber of truth, subjective reality is what we have, and we like to have very expansive conversations, and that's why you're not going to be wise if you are using that which is called your emotional whimsy or your affective realism, meaning that you are distorting things according to what is part of how you feel. So I feel that every person can achieve their maximum potential. Is that correct? No, because not everybody wants their A game. And in fact, the ones who don't do shadow work and their actual healing with a good therapist don't get there because they won't meet their very, very fragile, very, very scary 0 to 3-year-old, because that's those implicit memories. So while some of those who are attachment trauma educated like to make it seem like they have a one-stop fits all, I do spiritual and personal growth for those who grow. You're only going to be really that which is authentic spirituality when you can give your heart without needing something back. So when no one fucks with Mui or your biosphere, because you differentiate. The Mui is Dr. Daniel Siegel's, the biosphere is Terry Reel's, and really it's because we calibrate to each other's nervous system. That's called nervous systems, and not because I calibrate to yours. I will notice that I have things going on around me. Mystic, I've had plenty of practice with my oversoul, and then Dr. Daniel Siegel gave me suggestion about differentiating, which helped. So it still helps, and that's why we don't thank our 3D, 4D brothers and sisters for staying in their low frequency, but we don't get affected by them either to the point of us needing to cut anything out, because they're all part of the same lovely cloth, Akash source. They're all, in the sphere. And anything that people like to talk to about what happens after death and da-da-da, I mean, we could go on and on, but the point is when people are dressing themselves up and making a lot of different stories about that is what I was trying to get to. They're not really doing personal or spiritual growth. They're just enjoying being able to be with like-minded people who live the same experiences and then who get all excited. I get excited about intuitive stuff too, but I don't actually want to spend so much time in it that I'm just talking about the stars. It's nice to see when you can consistently engage with more conversations and different subject matters, and then to be able and maintain that fun interaction with people. Okay, so back to, I kind of digressed from where I was going, but when you have the oversoul, you're always going to thank that which they brought to you, because when you're able to bring authenticity and to unconsciously love each other with flaws and imperfections, you give people the opportunity to know that no matter what they choose, they are deserving, like every single one of God's children, of love. And the ones who keep wanting to bring in monsters into the picture didn't get attachment trauma educated, and they don't understand Michael Stone's evil scale. Therefore, they don't understand where suffering, ignorance, and rage come from. Therefore, they don't actually want to hear what logic is. They just want to hear what they want to hear, which is fine, but don't bring to me the word smart or that you're being yourself or that you know what love is, because you're bringing a story to that which is called a good group and a bad group, and there's your hero and not hero, and that's why it's a bullshit narrative. So when, on the other hand, we're all on the floor, we all can be crooked. This is what it's called. Yeah, I could be called an asshole for real by somebody who I will say, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. It doesn't mean I'll feel guilty. If I did not do shit to you, I won't feel guilty, because I'll know in my own pure 3-year-old consciousness and 6-year-old and 8 if I did something that I will feel guilty of. And it's here, and I don't see all people knowing this. I forgave. No, you didn't. You're still upset, but that's okay. We all can be upset. When you actually forgive, and I use that because I don't owe you thing. You don't owe me anything. That's how it feels when you're an emotionally independent human being who's also mentally independent. It means you own your 1-year-old. I don't need to have a pat on the back. You and I don't need each other for that. We need air, water, and food to breathe and eat and all that. Okay, so emotional relationships are not a tit for tat. That's why nobody fucks with my biosphere and we, which is why I don't need payback. You're not going to pay me back. It's not how this relationship is going to go. Securely attached and untraumatized people is what I'm talking about if you need the technical verbiage. So you're able to be what is called selfless, timeless, effortlessness, and richness, the going with the flow. Those who don't have the capacity to own all their child parts, the essence of them won't achieve aliveness yet, because they haven't been able to free their heart from that which burdens them. And so that's why when you can gift someone that which is called a healthy, self-worth, empowering relationship, and those are all our lovely somatic empaths between therapists, or 5D collective is what I call our Christ consciousness community. We are not going to put anybody on pedestal. No, we're going to know, humanly speaking, we have people who are still doing shadow work, healing, and they're not going to potentially ever get to their A game because they're not doing it with what works. Because the experts in the neuroscience, neurobiology, mental health, all, they are experts for a reason. They went to school, they keep going to school. They're not all perfect. No, believe me. I hope that they continue to train them to anchor in ventral energy and get all of that stuff healed so that they can effectively treat all. Like Pat Ogden will point out, she doesn't talk about narcissism as a good or bad thing. That helped the person to live in that home. So there's a bunch of experts who know what they're doing. And then there's the ones who are learning from him. And then there's the ones who decide that they don't believe in any of the modern day stuff. And it's like, what? Okay, really? Wow. So it's easy for a logical, smart, wise human being to know I ain't gonna be listening to the cherry pickers and the pseudo intellectuals and the ones who are like, we're right and you're wrong, in a way of, but I won't distort or take away their information either. And so as you keep moving forward, you get to continue to have fun in life. The stories that I was going to share, there's not that many, but I will honor the oversoul and the fact that it's nice to know with attachment trauma educators that we can always support people to have at least one safe haven, secure base where they never have had one in their entire life because of not having it from the get-go, and then not maybe taking seriously their healing journey, because that's the part of why it's so personal and it's so scary, to the point of where you got people who are thinking they're all healed and great and they're not. And I know of them. I make fun of them all the time. I don't point them out the way the cynic does, because I don't need to dismantle people. That's bad manners. That's not nice. Those are my weak brothers and sisters who didn't make it over the hump because they didn't get treated like children could get treated. I got treated like a child, which is why I can whine about it and not feel ashamed. I'll be crying, and if you try to make me ashamed of it, I'll think, wow, you're an asshole in my head, and then I'll know I won't be emotional with you, but not because every human being out there is not safe. No, because obviously some shit went down to the point of where you don't know how to use your heart. It's really sad. That's all it is. I ain't going to correct it. It's not my business. It's your business, and it's very personal. But don't give me the, how are you trying to make us heal from our trauma? What? Excuse me? You want to dishonor your first 3 years of life that did the most bravest of everything it could to keep you protected? I'm so sorry. I can accept and respect that you want to make that choice. I'm not going to say, yeah, let me support you to stay that which is called not your true self. I'm going to support that I accept and respect and love all people. And if you don't want to meet yourself, I'm going to have to accept and respect that. That's why God gets to hear me complain about it. No, I don't complain to him. He told me not to. I talk to him. So the good relationship with being yourself, that's where your 0-1-year-old, it's a part of it. You're 3 to 7, and when other people don't have that opportunity, well, maybe they will choose at one point. Lovely Dr. Dana Siegel is awesome. Dr. Dana Fox, a bunch of great therapists. Pat Ogden, Peter Levine is no more practicing, but he did the somatic experience approach. He's amazing. And so thank you for tuning in. We'll be back with more. And again, remember, let's unconditionally love with flaws and imperfections, because as Dr. Daniel Siegel has shared, we all can make that difference in somebody's life, to be their safe haven, secure base where they had none, and to then remember that everyone gets to choose. And that's something that we'll continue chit-chatting about. Have a good one.